I'm sure you've heard the old saying, the early bird gets the worm, but when it comes to building wealth, well, the early saver and investor gets the spoils. Marshall Clay with the Welch Group joins us now with more on the importance of starting to save and invest for those of you in your 20s and 30s. Good to have you with us this morning.
Good to see you.
The numbers on this really tell the story. I mean, you just do the math on it.
Yeah, it's very staggering, and I think that it's very easy when you're in your 20s and early 30s to say, look, I've got all the time in the world to save for retirement. Well, that's not really true. I mean, 5 years turns into 10 years, which turns into 20 years, which we all kind of know. I mean, time really does fly. So,
and it is a challenge. You know, when you're young, I know I was, and nobody told me that, hey, compound interest, if you just start early, you can stop even in your 30s. But if you once you start early, that really helps.
You're exactly right. And I talk to my employees about this, and I'm sure business owners talk to their employees about, but playing the long game, it's the decisions that we make today that will pay off 5, 10, and 15 years from now. So you don't want to wait until retirement's right in front of you to start saying, okay, well, now I need to save. So,
give us some examples.
Yeah, so here's a couple of scenarios. So you'll see scenario 1 on your screen here. You've got somebody starting to save at 25, and they're saving about $2,500 a year, which is around a couple $100 a month, at a 6% internal rate of return, which is not a crazy aggressive.
That's actually a conservative number.
That's conservative based on historical numbers. You get to around $388,000 at 65. So on the flip side, in scenario 2, you'll take the person who said, look, I'm not going to save in my 20s. I'm going to have a bunch of fun, and I'm going to start doing it when I'm 50. Okay, well, so now we've quadrupled the annual savings from $2,500 to $10,000 with that same 6% internal rate of return. You only get to $234,000. So you never catch back up to where you were when you started at age 25. So that's really just the power of the compounding of that 6%. Now, we all know that the market doesn't go up at nice 6% increments every single year, but if you look at it over a long enough period of time, a 6% internal rate of return is very, very achievable. So by starting early, you can put less pressure on yourself later on in life to kind of panic save and really take a dramatic drop off in lifestyle. And that's what we're trying to do with life, right? We're trying to get the most out of our life, and you don't want to have these wild swings and changes to how you're living.
Because Social Security is not going to do it. But there are ways you can try. Somebody saying, I can't do this, I'm paycheck to paycheck. What about some ways to get that money in?
Yeah, I think you and I were talking about this off air, and it's easy. It's kind of a cliche to say live beneath your means, but we're talking about, you know, $100 to $200 a month in that scenario number 1. I think most of us could probably figure out a way to, you know, let's don't go out to eat once, or let's improve our health. Let's not buy the beer and the alcohol. I mean,
and the coffee at the
coffee at the Starbucks. You and I have talked about that before. But the key here is to save early, save and invest often. Okay, and so if you start early, you allow that compounding to start and use time to your advantage. Like I said, play the long game. Let the power of math do some of the work for you. The time and that math doesn't work in your favor if you start doing it at 50, 55, right? And then also, last thing I would say is save more over time. If you're lucky enough to get those raises as you get older, don't let lifestyle creep jump in and you start, you know, sort of raising your lifestyle. Use that extra money that you're making to save a little bit more.
All right, but hopefully some folks in their 20s and 30s heed that advice. Marshall Clay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll be right back.